Welcome back to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Star Wars: The Bad Batch. If this is where you want to be, then this is where you'll stay. How's it going, troopers? And welcome back to Watch Club. My name is CT0831, but again, you can call me Hugs. And this is our Watch Club for Star Wars: The Bad Batch Episode 2, titled Cut and Run. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series, kind of like a book club, but like way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and Star Wars in general. So if you haven't watched this week's episode, be sure to do so, and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. Now, before we run away and have kids with a Twi'lek, which doesn't sound too bad, let me introduce you to our experimental crew of ragtag troopers. First up, he's taller than a Jawa, smaller than a Jabba, and as entertaining as Jar Jar. He's CT1231, also known as Edit.
Reporting for duty.
There you are. All right.
Yeah.
And we are nerds. And rounding out, rounding out our small battalion, we have the dopest, dankest dude on Dagobah, CT1006, but you can call him Joints.
Reporting for duty.
There he is. Barely getting that toke off. Welcome back, troopers. It feels like we were just doing this just a second ago.
Kind of does, right? Like, literally.
Not complaining, I guess.
Getting these episodes back to back. Stoked to have you guys along for the ride. Before we dive into the episode and kind of give our deep level thoughts, let's do some high level thoughts. Justin, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, I think this felt like a Clone Wars episode. Pretty standard. It was returned to form and structure of what we can anticipate for probably the remainder of these half-hour episodes.
Or at least most of them, I think.
Most of them, I guess. But I think that, like the one thing I've always enjoyed about the format of, when they started finding their grounds in season 2 and moving forward, even into Rebels, is that they had like these chunks of a season where it's like 4 or 5 episodes were very narrative based, like they focused on something. And then they had filler episodes. Maybe this was more of a filler episode, but it kind of felt like it could be something a little bit more meaningful. It was still integral in the sense that it allowed us to see some of the growth and development in the relationships. Yes. It was a very character-focused episode rather than a narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Darcy, Joints.
I have to agree with him. It's very filler. It kind of felt slow at points. A lot less slower compared to the last action-packed episode, of course. But yeah, it felt kind of like your typical story of like, adopting or taking a young one underneath your wing and like, should I do this and stuff like that. So it kind of felt like a typical story along that vein. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's just I'm looking forward to more in the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all kind of expected a bit of a dip, right? Mm-hmm. It was slower pace, not much happened, but like, listen, we did get some deep cut Star Wars lore stuff to freak out over. The biggest thing for me was the invention of chain codes, which we'll talk about, and getting to see a specific someone from Clone Wars again, and we'll get into that as well. It was short and sweet, and I think it focused mostly on Hunter and Omega. And I'm okay with that. So let's go over the episode. It's gonna be a quick one. The episode starts with us discovering just who exactly Clone Force 99 was referring to in terms of going to J19. With J19 being code for Seleucami, which fans of Star Wars: The Clone Wars would know as the home away from home for the Clone Army deserter Cut and his wife Sue. Oh, and their 2 kids. Let me see if I can get this right. Shia and Jack. On the planet, we see Omega. Thank you. On the planet, we see Omega experience dirt for the first time, as well as a sense of childhood for seemingly the first time in her life. Cut informs the troops that Rex actually passed through the day before. How convenient. And he also informs Hunter of the ways that the Imperial government are already changing the travel restrictions on the planet. So now they discover that they need chain codes. So guys, what did you think of the opening of this episode and getting to see Cut and Sue again? Justin, we'll start with you.
very much like I was saying in our last watch club, this, again, just another little Easter egg of a character to drop in to this series to help connect us to a thread. I did think it was interesting, though, that Rex was there the day before, which means that we'll probably see Rex again at some point.
100%.
The paths will cross, which is exciting. But, again, as an exploration for Omega to kind of see what a childhood could look like and what the world looks like outside. What is this? And, that's dirt.
seeing her experiencing dirt and like, because all she's ever lived with is the harsh metallic surfaces of Camino. Like, that was
stormy.
I said she was
waters,
annoying in our,
like, geez,
right?
Yeah.
I said she was annoying in our last episode, and like this episode, she won me over with a lot of this stuff.
I want to hear her take on sand personally, because we know how characters in Star Wars don't like sand. So
yeah, she ends up loving sand, right?
The anti.
Oh man, that's hilarious. And another thing I want to kind of call out as well is I loved seeing Wrecker interact with the kids, having them call him Uncle Wrecker. I just thought was such a cool thing to see a soft side of him.
Yeah, I think that this plays into the Wreckers being very juvenile. His character, like, I think we were just offline talking about how sometimes his character can come off a bit dumb, but I think it's the immature side of him, and he is like the sort of, the rambunctious teenage
He's the fun
child.
uncle.
Yeah, he's the rambunctious teenage child of the group, but like obviously to these kids, he's going to be that cool uncle, right? He's the Uncle Jesse, right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, that considering he has always shown a lot of emotion when interacting with kids in the series. Like, first we had him interacting with Caleb and how much he loved his anxiety, like his energy, and then moving on to Omega, loving how she wants to get into trouble. Basically, like, he clearly has a soft spot for kids because maybe they see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Absolutely, and I got to shout out that moment when Omega looks at Hunter to see if she can go out and play, and he nods and approves, and I'm gonna cry at some point in this series. I promise you guys, probably near the end, I'm gonna cry my eyeballs out.
Well,
just because the interaction between two of them, especially in this episode, was fantastic.
Yeah, and Cut has that moment with Hunter, where he's saying like, so who's the girl? And he's like, like another clone. He's like, that's not, Kaminoans don't engineer without a purpose. So what's her purpose is what he says. Right. So like that to me, again, is he's even noticing like, well, who is she and what is her significance in this whole situation? So
totally. And it's nice to have that parity between your characters on screen and what the audience is going through. And but one thing I want to call out, though, I specifically remember Sue in the Clone Wars way back when. And this was done back in a time when they were still sort of over-sexualizing Twi'leks. So it was nice to see a more modern version of her here. I thought, I don't know, I thought that was kind of refreshing because honestly, like if you watch her in the Clone Wars,
she's got more
like,
of a mom bod now. So she's
got more of a
aged.
mom like outfit and everything. She's got the hat and everything. She's a
like
farmer. She's also a badass
I have
sniper.
2 kids, so I'm gonna like
I'm just saying,
up
man,
and be a farmer. No,
but I think that speaks to the change of how I think Disney is trying to portray these,
I honestly think that's more of a
species.
passage of time, if anything, right? From young to old,
right.
because even Cut looks a lot older, right? Like he
Yeah,
looks
his hair looks
going through his hair now.
Yeah, and
I love
at
his
first,
hair,
especially like the old, like the very very Amish like mutton chops that he has.
The mutton
right?
chops.
Yeah, right. So like I don't know if necessarily you might be reading a little too deep into it, but I think it's more of a thing to just show a passage because the kids are older too. Right, they're significantly older than when we saw them in Clone Wars. When Rex first met them, they were like 3 or 4. They were so cute,
toddlers,
right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
right, like, but yeah, obviously there's been some time and maybe some maturity, and it's just nice to see that they're still around. That they were able to have their little part in the galaxy, their little slice of happy ending in this part of the galaxy. But now things are about to get super messed up with a galactic empire, apparently.
Yeah, so they got to get out of there. Just really quickly, as a classic Star Wars fan, it was cool to witness the invention of chain codes. I know that's like super nerdy, but I just thought it was a cool moment. And honestly, those are the moments that I love from these expanded lore series, right? Just those little tiny things. In our last Watch Club episode, Darcy, you had this fantastic idea that the inhibitor chips is what might be causing stormtroopers to shoot poorly.
Yeah.
So I love that if they can find ways to sort of bring in those really tiny details, it's exciting for big nerds like us, or or geeks like us. So
Well,
very
I thought
cool.
it was interesting too, just talking about how they're tagging all the ships and stuff like that. It also makes me think of the Mandalorian, about how his ship was a pre-Empire Imperial era, so it doesn't have a transponder.
It
So
doesn't have.
like the Empire is all about keeping track of everything in its borders, basically. So it's neat to see the origin of that, like you're saying, like where it all started, basically.
Very cool. So guys, then we get back to the farm. Omega has a very scary encounter with a Nexu, and Hunter recognizes that maybe he isn't the best person to take care of Omega, seeing how well Cut handles the situation afterwards. He decides to ask Cut and Sue to take care of Omega and to take her off planet. Tech and Echo devise a plan to retrieve the data and chain codes needed to help Cut and his family escape, and they decide to call in their ship as abandoned, so that it'll get impounded, bringing them closer to the facility where the information they need is. Now, there's only one big problem. Omega is aboard the ship when they get abducted. So, once they arrive, Echo manages to get the discs. Tech programs them, and then they both get caught up in a battle with some regs. Omega sees this opportunity and flees with the chain codes, and then gets back to Hunter, Cut, and his family. She hands over 5 chips, and Hunter tells her she needs to go with Cut. After a very longing look goodbye and some tears, Omega runs away from Sue and the family back to Clone Force 99, where they barely make it back onto their ship, and they escape. Omega reflects on her actions, and Hunter feels the same way. He tells her, if this is where you want to be, then this is where you'll stay. So that's basically the entire episode there. Obviously, this episode is focused mostly on Hunter and him learning how to treat Omega. What did you think of the theming of sort of family and parenting in this episode?
I got a lot of 3 Men and a Baby vibes and Full House type thing too, where you got a bunch of guys who have no idea how to raise a kid, and then they're again feeling inferior or not worthy to raise them correctly or whatever. I thought it was cool though that it seemed like Cut and Sue almost knew where Omega wanted to be. As soon as she found out that Hunter wanted her to go with them, she had that reluctance about her that they picked up on clearly and let her go back to them.
That was nice.
I thought it was, again, that this scene also reflects the clone troopers and how bad their shots have gotten suddenly.
Yeah.
In that unarmed
even in close
Wrecker,
range.
unarmed Wrecker was able to hold his own against like 4 or 5 of them. Like, I don't really get where their combat superiority has gone.
I'm on your theory.
Weeks.
I'm on your theory, man.
Your theory's right, dude.
Everything you have said about, like, just that statement of their inhibitor chips causing them to be a more horrible shooter, and like that being almost a side effect that they never even knew about, is that they're just they suck at shooting. Like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Like,
they're really
quick
funny.
thinking. Their quick thinking they all experienced or exhibited was clearly from their bounty hunter genes. That's why they were so exceptional. And when you start suppressing those genes or those actions, I feel like that's going to affect your combat ability at some point.
Darcy, at this point, if it's not true, I'm just taking it as word.
No,
like
if it's not true, we're going to tell Lucasfilm it is true, because they need to
guys, this is the way it needs to be.
This is the way. I thought like, I don't know. I also want to just quickly mention, like, to see the battle-hardened war hero of Hunter and to see his softer side. I think he sees Omega kind of as his chance at something more than the war that he's been fighting for his entire life, right? Like, I think he believes he would have no purpose outside of the war, so he senses that it's ending, and he knows that she can be the purpose for him. It's all very, very sweet. I just want to quickly shout out Wrecker one more time, though. When he's on the ship and he's lifting the gonk droid was freaking awesome. You see its little feet wiggling in the air, and it's just gonk, gonk, gonk. Like, it's obviously stressed out. And did I pre-order the Lego set that includes that gonk droid? Absolutely.
As did I.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Awesome. I think you're absolutely right on that point, Nate, in terms of him seeing that there's something more for him in this relationship with Omega, and Darcy as well, with this idea that they're all kind of serving as like the Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey of the group to really kind of influence Omega, and they want to do right by her, but especially with Hunter. And I think that juxtaposition of seeing, Cut with his family and how he handled it, and why Hunter thought, you know what, Cut would be way better at taking care of Omega than I would ever be, because he is a family man. He knows what to do. There is that that now this new challenge for him, this new opportunity, a new skill for him to learn that is outside of, as you were saying, Nate, the war that he's been fighting all his life, and with this kind of winding down, and he doesn't really know what the next course of events are really going to take him. To your point, it could be a new start for him. So it'll be interesting to see how they evolve that.
Another thing I wanted to point out in this episode is, again, we're probably only, like, at best a few weeks out from Order 66. And they've already got the paint changing, like, for all the Imperial logo. Like, it's gone from, it's not the
They move
Galactic
quick, dude.
Republic now. It's the Galactic Empire. And they have all these borders. It's like he had these plans in place for a while. And as soon as Order 66 was flipped, he was like, okay, now paint everything. We are now this. This is how it has to be. I'm just kind of surprised about how fast it turned over and how a lot of people, or like in the galaxy, were just like, okay, and allowing that. Like,
I think it just speaks to how many clones they actually have, how many people they have in their army to be able to just snap your fingers and say, because you got to imagine they're not just using clones necessarily as troopers, right? They're also using clones for so many other reasons. And so for them to be able to just have the ability to say, snap my fingers, do whatever I say.
Well, that was the whole point of the Clone Wars to begin with, was that he created the threat of the droids, assuming so many different planets. He put the clones in those places to protect those places, and now that he has now switched it into a galactic empire, he's now able to snap his fingers and say, okay, well, now we're rolling over to a new political system. Like, it's all kind of layered in there for it to be so immediate, because to your point, Darcy, he's had this in his plans quite some time. So
yeah, cool. Well, guys, wrapping up our discussion on the plot, I want to know, what are your overall thoughts on the episode, as well as your final score? For this episode, we're going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 chain codes. Darcy, let's start with yourself.
Like I said, like I said at the top of the episode, it felt like a bit of a slower episode to me. I guess after the firecracker that was the first episode, I was hoping they'd carry the momentum a bit more. But again, this does have a lot of character development, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it 3.5 chain codes out of 5.
Cool.
Again, it felt a bit slow at some points, and I felt like a lot of the story was I could see it coming. Hunter wanting Omega to go with Cut, Omega wanting to stay with Hunter, and then their acceptance of each other. I kind of saw that all coming as it was going and happening. But again, it's important character development, so I hope that this is a good grounding point for them to build off of, basically.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Justin, yourself.
Well, first, the score I would give it is 100%, a 3.5 out of 5 chain codes. I think this was a slower episode. It did have some really good character building moments. I agree with you, Darcy. I think it could have been better if they went at least the first 3 episodes hardcore with like a story. But again, shifting the balance of how it is, they went for character development rather than narrative. It was still some good character development. We see that we are going to get a solidified bond between Hunter and Omega, and the Bad Batch. They're going to be her protectors and make sure that she gets out of this okay. It was typical Clone Wars, but it still had some good moments. So 3.5 out of 5.
Very cool. Yeah. This episode was definitely an episode of TV, right? Where the previous episode, and I think other series that we talked about from Disney Plus, coming from Marvel, felt more like movies. And this was very much a classic Clone Wars, slower paced, more character focused episode. I don't think it'll be too memorable in the series overall, but it was a fun look back. And I think it really established the beginning of Hunter's connection to Omega. So for this episode, I enjoyed it, but I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 chain codes.
You went lower than both Darcy and I. I thought you were going to hit 3.5 as well, but yeah, you went way low. Hey,
I don't think, honestly, it literally was like she ran away and she came back. Like there was not enough for me. They had to get their visas. Like it was like not that exciting.
They're galactic visas, so they can travel anywhere. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, Justin, that I really do hope that we do get similar to what we had in Clone Wars, where we get sort of overarching plots and then maybe a few filler episodes like this. So if this was a filler, that means we get 4 episodes of plot going forward. I think that'll be quite all right with me. Again, I'm just happy to see more Star Wars Weekly.
Well, how many episodes are there? I think they're saying 16, right?
16 in total. So this is the second episode. So we've got what?
14
more
left?
episodes.
I'm bad with math.
Simple
I'm bad.
math.
Listen.
That's simple math.
Simple math. That is simple math. Even I was like 14. And I'm bad at math. No, but so that's 14 episodes. And you got to think, like, it's going to be interesting to see how we might have a couple more filler episodes before we get to something that's narratively hefty.
Significant. Yeah.
Just bring up Mandalorian there. It almost feels like this episode was trying to set itself apart from Mandalorian, where Mandalorian's whole stick was, I need to find someone to protect this child. Whereas this one got it out of the way in one episode. We're going to protect this child. Okay, moving on.
Sure.
So I feel like that almost was like the goal of this episode in my mind.
For sure. They fast-tracked it, whereas like The Mandalorian took a whole season to do it. But I think at the same time, though, they're playing with the same thematical elements.
Totally. Just going a different route with it.
Exactly, 100%. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do that with this story.
Well, listen, speaking of Mandalorian, at the end of these Watch Club episodes, every few episodes for this series, we're going to speculate on what we think is going to happen next in the series. And in our Mandalorian Watch Club, we had What is the Way? And for this one, I thought we'd go a little more rogue, a little more debonair. So I ask you both, what's going to happen, batches? I know it's not as good. But Darcy, what's going to happen, batch?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still reeling from being called a batch. I don't know if I should be offended or not.
You're a bad batch.
Well, I think clearly with the Rex name drop and him being so close to them, I wouldn't be surprised if they track him down because they know him already, and if he's come to them, he clearly is has avoided the effects of the chip, at least as far as they know. So I could see them having some reason to track him down. Outside of that, I think we got introduced to that admiral or member of the Navy that we haven't seen before, and I have a feeling that he's going to be the Moff Gideon of the Bad Batch, trying to track them down after he interacts with them, because obviously the Bad Batch is going to go around sticking their fingers where they shouldn't. So
interesting. Well, so you think the admiral that was in that projection that was talking about the chain codes and what they're going to be used for, right? That's actually a really I didn't even think of that. I just thought of him as some sort of ancillary poster boy for the Galactic Empire. You know what I mean?
I just got that vibe.
He looked really handsome.
Yeah. Well, I just got that vibe because every animated series seems to have an admiral or as one of those a Navy member as a baddie. Like you had Alinda Price was in Rebels as the Imperial baddie there, and then Thrawn. So it seems like he could be a good admiral for the enemies, for the enemy of the Bad Batch at least.
Yeah. So you mentioned one character that I'm wondering if we could see here, and that is Thrawn. Early upbringings of Thrawn.
Wow, it'd be interesting.
It would be. We know that he's going to potentially be shown in the Ahsoka series as he was referenced in Mandalorian season 2, but there's a chance that we could see a younger version of him.
This could be pre-Grand Admiral. He could still be rising through the ranks of the Navy with Vanto by his side.
Honestly, I think it'd be really cool to see him as a good character. You know what I mean? I could see him maybe helping them or something like that. I think it'd be a really interesting shift of character.
But he's not necessarily a good guy, but he's just helping them.
Sure.
That's
what I mean, though, right?
Their interests align, and he would help them for that reason. Exactly. He's a very calculating character.
Yeah.
Just because the Bad Batch is very, they're rogues themselves, right?
Well,
they're not necessarily.
I'm gonna Bad Batch you, okay? All right? I'm gonna give you my batches, okay, batches. I can't wait to see how Fennec Shan gets integrated into all of this, because I think very much like how we were just talking about Thrawn, if he shows up and somehow their needs align, he's able to help them. I think that's going to be the same sort of circumstance of situation for them in the Bad Batch.
Well, she's a sniper, right? And who are they going up against? Another sniper that doesn't miss.
Oh, that's very true. So that's a good call.
Kind of cool.
It's just the Omega thing that has my head scratching, and I'm wondering if, I think I said this before, I'm wondering if this is either a clone of a Jedi or a clone of a clone that's even more enhanced. I don't know.
I got it. Okay,
Batch,
so I want to bring up a theory.
Tell me, Batch.
Listen, Batch. I want to bring up a theory that I thought of, some of it, and then I looked up, and there was some speculation on the internet, and I sort of formulated and combined things. So Omega is the ultimate version of what the Kaminoans are trying to achieve with clones. I think Alpha being Boba Fett, and Omega is going to be, she's the last version of the clones. And I think, she has that same medallion as Nala Se, right? And as I said in our last Watch Club, she's definitely clairvoyant through the Force, I think. I think she's the closest thing they have to help create a new body for Palpatine. Again, this brings me back to my theory that I said when we were looking at the trailer for this series, I was like, oh, well, they got a little kid in there. Grogu's not in the show anymore. But now, listen, Grogu's the new Mephisto, gentlemen, and I'm going to ride that train. Grogu is in this show, and I think Omega is the one who saves him from the Jedi Temple. Let's go.
Well, the Jedi Temple would have already fallen by this point, so I don't think
it doesn't work. It does not
line up. I don't think she's related to the Empire or Palpatine at all. Again, I feel like Kaminoans were doing this on their own accord because they're a race that sustains themselves on cloning. Like that is how they reproduce essentially. So I feel like this would be like you said the ultimate example of their cloning technologies. Yeah. Like I don't think it's like the Empire knows so much about her yet.
I think, so it's a defense for the Kaminoans. Then.
Yes, and I think it'll be throughout this series that we see the Empire learn about her and her powers and how important or how far cloning has come for the Kaminoans, and that'll lead to Palpatine's research into cloning.
Yeah, because it's very clear that like even how Tarkin just didn't acknowledge
just dismissed
Omega
it
at
so
all.
Quickly.
Dismissed it. Just did,
I don't think
had no interest in the cloning process. Obviously, I think that the Empire has no awareness of who Omega is and what her significance is, and kind of maybe thinks of it as an experiment of theirs, right? Just there's something that they're doing. That being said, though, she's obviously showing various signs that there is something more to her. So what that is, I look forward to finding out. I think that's a huge hook for me, at least thus far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing that has me against Palpatine's awareness of Omega is the fact that at this point he has just acquired his strongest apprentice yet and has so much hope for him and stuff like that. And as we find out later on, the plan was almost to take his body or to take his power for himself. So I feel like at this point in time, cloning is the last thing on Palpatine's mind. He has the Death Star plans. He's just acquired the Empire for himself and has this apprentice.
That's
he is
true.
Set for a while. I don't think he's looking into how can I extend my life right now.
That's true. I see what you're getting at there. I think you're right. I think his tension wouldn't be about necessarily figuring out a cloning plan this early on, because he has so much potential and so many opportunities right in front of him, especially with Vader by his side.
Yeah, well, I feel like at the end, building on your point, I feel like the failure of that first Death Star would be like a waking up moment for him, being like, wait, maybe my Empire isn't infallible. Maybe I do need to have a backup plan.
Right.
So that's
interesting. That's a good point.
Very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But guys, that about wraps up things here for our second episode of Watch Club for Star Wars: The Bad Batch. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Watch Club, and if you did, make sure to we hope you enjoyed this episode of Watch Club, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts if you haven't already. Oh, and if you want to write into the show with your thoughts and predictions, am I right? Is Omega going to travel through time and save Grogu? I think it's going to happen. You can write in. Listen, you don't have to fight off a Nexu. Instead, you can just email us. But the only problem is, Justin, I don't seem to have my chain code. Can you just let them know how to reach us?
They can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. I did it like the narrator. Like the narrator.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Maybe we have you introduce the next one. That was
one thing I was disappointed about this episode was we got no narrator intro.
Well, listen, hopefully we'll get that next time. Keep in mind, we also have our standard episodes of the Geekcentric podcast out now with our latest episodes where we discuss the new lightsaber coming to Disney parks, the incredible Phase 4 trailer, and our thoughts on the 3 of the year's biggest movies so far. So make sure to check that out as well. Edit Joints, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Watch Club. And as we say, good soldiers follow orders.